Garrett, we had a fan submit to us through our Instagram DMs just asking, hey, can you explain what's going on? Like, what are the rules around the portals? What are these windows that I'm hearing about? And what can and can't be done? So before we jump into question of the day, would you like just to kind of set the ground rules, at least what the NCAA has lightly termed ground rules for all this chaos?
Right. This is very similar to Captain Barbosa in Pirates of the Caribbean, where we say the rules are more like guidelines. It's sort of kind of maybe going to get followed. So, this is I found a real quick write up on the rebelwalk.com just that I think does a really good job kind of summing it up. Basically, for the transfer window, there's two different windows as of this year, right? So this is the way that the new rules are worked up. There's two different windows. The first one started on Monday. It's a 45-day period, and that will go through, I guess, the next 45 days or however much it is now, minus Monday. And so that'll be when any player can enter their name, talk to coaches, talk to other teams, and talk about what they need to do to transfer. And then the second window that they have is a much shorter window. It comes after spring camp. It'll be May 1st through May 15th this year. And so you can kind of do that again if maybe spring camp didn't work out your way and you want to go find a different opportunity. You can do that. Previously, you could only take 25 per cycle between the portal and your recruiting class. Now it doesn't matter. You can take as many as you need to fill that 85 cap, as long as you're not going over 85, both with your high school recruits and your transfers. And this is probably where it's the most guideliney. You're not supposed to be making contact if you're a school or if you're a coach. You're not supposed to be making any contact with any of these players until the window opens and they put their name in. So you can't contact a player if they haven't put their name in, even if it is during the window. Now, we'll talk about how that probably isn't getting played by very much, but there's that. Also, grad transfers, they can put their name in at any time and transfer at any time. It's a different rule for grad transfers. So that's kind of a sum up.
Yeah, it's I love the way that you started that with the joke about guidelines because as we've
Solid
seen, like
reference too. That was
that
I,
was
an
I
a
amazing
appreciate you.
reference.
great pull. The NCAA is so toothless in all of this. I mean, look, whether or not you say, "Hey, you can't contact these kids before the portal opens," we know that's happening. There are kids that were entering the portal, quote unquote, leaving their team in October and committing to a new school before anybody legally had a chance to communicate with them. Like, how on earth are they committing to play for a new school when they don't know if a scholarship is going to be available or whatever? So, it's there's a lot of back and forth about position coaches obviously being able to slide into Twitter DMs and a lot of backhand deals, under the table handshakes. It's you talk about not feeling great about some of the business that's being conducted, and that's across every level of football, every school. I don't think anybody has their hands clean in this matter. It really is when there are no rules, everyone kind of gets to behave like it's the Wild West, and I think that's what's happening, unfortunately.
Yeah. And to be clear, this is not going to be a podcast where we go and we take a crap on certain teams for doing
No,
stuff. This is not where that's going to go, right? So if you're here to hear us talk about how, oh, I can't believe that, Lincoln Riley came in here and he talked to this guy and he convinced it. That's not what we're doing today, right? We're not talking about, all the drama behind it. If you want that, you got to go find it somewhere else. We're just going to be talking about what's happening, trying to keep you up to date, provide some analysis on it. And that's what we're here for. We're not here to speculate. If everybody's doing it, we're not going to throw dirt on anybody, because that wouldn't be fair, since we can assume, because the NCAA has almost no power here, that everybody's going to find a way to tweak the rules until they put something firm in place.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
that. Go ahead, Trey.
December 5th, I think, was circled on the calendar for a lot of people that follow this closely. And it certainly lived up to the hype. There were,
Oh
thousands
yeah.
of guys, quite literally thousands of athletes that put their name into the transfer portal the first day it was available. Anytime you hear someone saying that during the season, they're doing it in an unofficial manner. Then when it becomes official, it's just open season. So
Yeah.
it's been a lot to follow. I personally have struggled to keep up with it as closely, and I know some people that do this full time. So
Yeah.
lots to break down, lots to consider.
Well, I've even seen some of the beat writers for these recruiting services. Like a couple of them, I've seen quit,
Yeah,
truly just because they're
Hmm.
burned out, and I
there's no
cannot.
off season for
No,
roster development following. Like that's a
no.
whole cottage industry of college football. There's
Hmm.
absolutely no off season of it now. There were dead periods in recruiting where those guys could take a break, and it's just gone. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely going to be a sad casualty of a lot of this.
Yeah. Well, I think Garrett, it's well said. This is not going to be a rumor mill. We actually sit on things that we hear and have told to us from various sources. All of us are in some way or another connected to whether it be the college athletic industry or recruiting, and so that's just never going to be what we do here. We report what happens, and we'll offer our input on that. But this is never going to be somewhere where we're trying to break news or break a scoop. Just in case there was any curiosity about that. So, guys, let's jump into our question of the day, and it's very much related to everything that we talked about so far. Question of the day: have the last several days, so as we're recording this, the last 3 full days, have they been an absolute doomsday scenario for the portal for college football, or is this truly going to be business as usual for the better or the worse going forward? And I think there are a couple of different ways that you can take that, but I want to turn it over to you guys and just hear first blush at that question. What are your thoughts?
I don't know that I can fully say it's doomsday. I don't know that I can fully say it's business as usual. It's certainly not business as usual
Hmm.
because this is just a whole new world. Every year, it seems like the transfer portal gets bigger and bigger. More guys throw their name in the ring. More guys are just looking for a new opportunity. A ton of kids are just looking for what they think is a better opportunity, though. At the end of the day, a lot of these guys are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that are just trying to find the right fit for them. And I'm all for letting these athletes, go where they think is going to make them happy. I do think we need some more parameters around it. I think having it wild, wild west where there's tampering and allegations of tampering and just, no regulation, no oversight of is definitely bad for the future of the sport. But at the end of the day, I really hope that the intended goal of this, which is, make sure that athletes are happy and are in a place where they're not feeling trapped or stuck. I hope that that can continue to be the driving force behind this. We all know that NIL is going to factor into this more and more. We know that college football is a cutthroat world. There's roster limitations. There's a lot of money changing hands, and at the end of the day, it is sort of not even sort of, it's a business, right? It's a business, and business decisions have to be made. But what I hope for is that, for all the high profile guys that we see, and we're going to name a lot of them coming up really soon as we talk about kind of break down some of the surprising decisions. For all those high profile ones, you're like, wow, why would they transfer? Look at that. There's probably 4, 5, maybe even 10 for every one high profile one that's just a kid trying to make a good decision for himself. He wants more playing time. He wants to be closer to home. He has family issues that he needs to take care of. He might have a better NIL opportunity somewhere else. So at the end of the day, I think that's what this is more about on the underbelly. Now, we're going to focus on the top high profile guys. We're going to focus on the guys that can make an immediate impact because they were already starters or high profile guys at their previous school. But the spirit of this rule is to help kids make sure that they're happy. And, I think we're also seeing a huge uptick in it because of that COVID numbers crunch. All the guys that got an extra year because of
Hmm.
COVID, there's not enough roster spots for all those guys and all the guys that want to come in from high school. So we're seeing this just crazy mad dash for not a lot of spots. There's too many players and not enough spots. And I honestly don't know how long we're going to see the effects of that. How long is that going to be just a lingering effect? Because we're seeing some guys get a sixth or seventh year of eligibility when you factor in this COVID year. And that's definitely something that's factoring in this as well. But no idea how long that's going to last. Every sport is seeing this to some degree with that COVID extra year of eligibility, but we're really, really focusing. I think a lot of the alarmism is focusing on these higher profile guys.
Yeah, and I keep going back and forth on this whether or not I think what's happening now is a good thing. In the short run, I think what this currently is going to be a transition. I don't think what we have right now is sustainable, and I think there will come a day where this hits a boiling point where either the student athletes, they realize, you know what, this is absurd. I shouldn't put my name in the transfer portal, and it'll become almost a bad idea, and it'll get a lot of stigma around it because it's a place where you go to no longer place sports at all. And I think we could see that on one side, though. You have a lot of student athletes who I think, to simplify it even more, they just want to play the game, right?
Hmm.
They want to go play the game. They went to a college where they were told they were going to be a big part of the game plan, and they've been sitting second or third string for a long time, not able to play, right? And they were told that they want to do that. It may not have anything to do with draft stock, winning a championship, NIL deals, anything like that. It might just come down to they want to play, right? They love playing the game and they want to do it. So, I think that's helpful. I also think this is really good for some of those top players who, they're just maybe a little bit more talented than the situation that they're in, and they want an opportunity to compete at the highest level, right? I'm thinking about, we have several players even in this top group. I'm looking at it right now that that they probably should have more opportunities than they currently do. I mean, I'm looking at guys like Devin Leary and Hudson Card. Devin Leary could come back and play, I think, but Hudson Card got passed up at Texas. He's a very talented quarterback, and he deserves to play somewhere. That's going to say, you know what, we don't recruit quarterbacks at as high a clip as the University of Texas does.
And
So
whatever program gets him is going to be thrilled to have him, and he's going to be a starter at that program.
oh, absolutely. And he'll play really well and he'll give them a chance to compete probably from day one. But even, going down to guys like Luke Altmaier, right, who, they got passed over again. And those guys, they can play well. They can play well for teams and give them chances to win. On the flip side, though, I think the problem is it kind of hurts certain programs' abilities to grow kind of organically. If you're not a program who has a big NIL program, or has a flashy staff that they put together, or has a couple really good years of being competitive, it's probably more likely that your talented athletes leave. It's going to be really hard to keep special players from transferring, at least in the short term. And if we think about taking this back a ways, this means that guys like Mike Vick would have gone and transferred to like Ohio State, and Johnny Manziel would have transferred to Bama, and Lamar Jackson would have transferred to Clemson, just because those are the places where they could have the best opportunities to win championships and not get drowned in the fact that, yeah, you're a star player, everyone's watching you, but the team around you isn't there, right? The team around you isn't where you are. A lot of those decisions would have gotten made probably, and I don't think that would have been better for college football. I kind of like having the teams that come out of nowhere because you got one guy playing hero ball, and so I don't think that this necessarily can go on for very long. I think this is gonna have to change at some point. Otherwise, you're just gonna get same old at the top. And at some point, I think you're gonna have to see this break where conferences get involved or things like that, and they stop this from becoming a long term problem. But how people navigate this the next couple years, I think, is going to mean a lot for the landscape going forward.
So, a couple of key points to note here. Over 2,500 kids are currently in the portal. Now, that includes all levels and walk ons. So, don't think that's all Clemson and Alabama and Ole Miss. It's across all levels of college football. But now over 1,000 of them are D1. 1,000 plus out of 13,000 players are in the portal when it comes to Division 1 big boy football, what we think of when we watch college football on Saturdays. Currently, team leaders with guys in the portal. Virginia Tech, I believe, has 13 kids now in the portal. Clemson, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, now Florida and Alabama. In fact, we're recording this on December 7th. This morning, Florida had 6 guys enter the portal at the exact same time, which right after DJ Lagway, one of the top quarterbacks for the 2024 class, committed, said Florida's building something special. I just think it's kind of funny that on the same day he says that, they have just a mass exodus. Who knows what Billy Napier's program will look like in a couple years' time. Alabama, shockingly, I think 2 days ago, had a very similar situation where a number of guys all entered into the portal at the same time. In fact, out of 15 scholarship linemen, as of recording this, 7 of them are in the portal right now. It's looking like Alabama may be very, very thin when it comes to playing that Sugar Bowl against Kansas State. Notable names, again, this is not going to become a laundry list of guys that are in the portal, but notable names specifically when it comes to quarterbacks that are in the portal. We talked about the preseason and the beginning of the season, how the ACC was so strong from a quarterback perspective. Like, all of them are either in the portal or considering it. So you've got guys like DJ Uiagalelei, Keaton Slovis, Devin Leary out of the ACC. Other quarterbacks, Hudson Card, Garrett, as you mentioned, Drew Pine at Notre Dame is in the portal. Cade McNamara has already committed to Iowa from Michigan after losing that job to J.J. McCarthy. Graham Mertz is transferring out of Wisconsin, and we're still waiting to see if Drake May enters the portal. He may be the hottest quarterback name in the country if he decides to portal. Trey, you and I were talking about this before we hit record. You had thought he was going back to UNC. I had seen stuff this morning that said he's not in it, but he's seriously considering it. Now Phil Longo has gone to Wisconsin, so his offensive coordinator's gone. There's a lot of speculation about how long Mac Brown will be the head coach there. I mean, it is chaos around college football.
Gracious him! How about